Hi, welcome to the Mindset, the Global Frame. Today, we're talking about distraction versus reality. What the world is missing while power quietly shifts. But before we get into it, I've noticed most of you watching, more than 80% of the viewers have yet to subscribe. Kindly do so. It's free, it supports the channel, and we'd love to keep bringing you more of this content. Thanks again. And that being said, I'm Femi, and with me is Madam Fey. Opening frame to this topic. Each week, we step back into from the noise and examine the forces really shaping the world. What's really making it move? Not just what's happening, but why is it happening? And what it means to you, to the entire globe, no matter where you're living at. Because in a world flooded with information, the greatest danger is no longer ignorance, it's distraction. Right now, the world feels overwhelmed. From the Middle East to Eastern Europe, from Asia to Africa, from Washington to Brussels, from Iran to Israel, China to Taiwan, Russia, Ukraine, Europe under pressure. The United States navigating economical strain, political polarization, and global competition. So the real question isn't what's going on. No, 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 no. We already know that. The real question is what actually deserves our attention right now. And just as importantly, what is pulling our attention away from things that will shape the next decade. This conversation today with myself and Madam Fay, the age of distraction. If you follow the news, everything feels urgent: scandals, lawsuits, investigations, personalities, old stories resurfacing at very specific moments. Some of these stories are real, some deserve scrutiny, but strategy isn't just about what happened, it's about timing. When you think about strategically, when you think strategically, so to say, you start to notice patterns. What suddenly dominates attention? What appears at the same moment as major geopolitical or economical decisions? What pulls emotional energy away from structural issues? Because timing is rarely accidental. Very often, distraction and decision move together. Madam Faye, what's your take so far?
Absolutely, Femi, and you've set the stage perfectly. When we look at all of this, it's really about recognizing that a lot of what grabs headlines is designed to pull us away from those deeper, slower moving forces that actually shape the next decade. So, from my perspective, it's all about helping everyone tune out the noise and really focus on those underlying shifts. It's a crucial mindset shift, and that's exactly what we're here to do.
What actually matters right now, history really remembers what trended. That's the way it is. It remembers what shifted power. Right now, the world is dealing with unresolved wars, fragile alliances, rising military spending, inflation reshaping daily lives. That's the reality. Currencies under massive pressure, declining trust in institutions. These are slow moving forces. They don't go viral, They don't fit neatly into outrage cycles, but they shape our lives for decades. And while public attention is absorbed by emotional narratives, structural changes continue quietly in finance, defense, diplomacy, technology. The gap between what dominates conversation and what drives reality is where long term risks grow. Our lives are changing right before our eyes. Madam Fay, what you take?
Absolutely, Femi. And that's exactly the heart of it. History doesn't highlight what was trending on a given day, it highlights what truly shifted the balance of power over time. So, as we look at all these slow moving forces, those unresolved wars, that rising inflation, those fragile alliances, what really matters is understanding that most impactful changes usually unfold quietly outside the spotlight. And that's what we're here to do, help everyone see through the noise and focus on those deeper shifts that really shape our future. That's the mindset shift we're talking about.
If you, that's it. If you haven't subscribed, it's free. Support the channel. Going into it a little bit deeper, Europe as a warning signal. When we look at Europe for a moment, some of the world's strongest democracies have experienced political deadlock, collapse in coalitions, dissolved parliaments, snap elections, rising extremism. These are not weak states, as we know and as history has shown us. These are pillars of global democratic systems. Yet, very few people are asking the deeper question. If even the most established democracies are under strain, what does that say about the global system as a whole? And more importantly, sorry, what does this mean for countries still building their democratic foundations? What's your take on this? What does it mean for the growing countries in Asia, South America, Africa, the continent? Madam Faye, how can they withstand it?
Well, Femi, that's really the big question. When the strongest democracies face this kind of internal strain, it sends a signal to the rest of the world. For countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America that are still shaping their own democratic paths, it's both a caution and a reminder. It means that no system is immune and that building resilience matters just as much as building institutions. So, for these growing democracies, the lesson is really about not just adopting democratic forms, but also preparing for the stresses that come with them. And that's really the bigger picture we need to focus on.
Well said, well said, well said. The quiet preparation behind the scenes. What's most revealing isn't happening on TV, away from headlines. Governments, institutions, investors are not reacting emotionally. They are positioning, diversifying assets, moving capital across borders, reducing reliance on single currencies, securing options rather than guarantees. This isn't panic, it's pattern recognition. History shows that during periods of inflation and uncertainty, the value of money shifts. Assets behave differently. Inequality widens. Those without options feel the pressure first. Those with options, prepare early. That's not ideology, that's economics. Most of us, a large percentage of the quote unquote middle class or lower middle class, can relate to what I just said. This is across the board. Maybe be it in the US, we see what's happening. People are no longer complaining about the biggest things about I can't buy a house. They're talking about the cost of daily needs. And it's not only in the States, it's everywhere. Madam Fay, have you say?
Absolutely, Femi. And that's such an important point to highlight. What we're seeing isn't just about one country or one region, it's a global pattern. When times get uncertain, those who have the means poignantly start to hedge their bets, diversifying and preparing for the long haul. Meanwhile, everyday people feel the squeeze first because they don't have those same options. And that's not about politics, it's really just the economic reality of high cycles work. So, recognizing these patterns is really the first step to understanding what's happening beneath the surface.
Yeah, the game is on, so to say. And that's what we're living in right now. Why distraction is so powerful. In a 24-hour news cycle, attention becomes currency. Political actors understand this, media understands this, marketing and PR understand this. Outrage travels faster than analysis. Personalities overshadow policies. We see that in the States. Conflict sells better than contest. So while societies argue about symbols, systems quietly adjust. And the danger isn't that people care about the wrong things, the danger is that they never get the space to focus on the right ones.
Exactly. And that's really at the core of it. It's not that caring about those headline stories is inherently wrong. It's that all of that noise can crowd out the time and attention people need to actually focus on the deeper, quieter shifts that shape the world long term. So it's about making sure we create that space to look beyond the immediate outrage and really understand the bigger picture. That's the mindset shift we want to bring to the forefront.
Yeah, absolutely well said. The global consequences when societies lose focus. Trust erodes. Institutions weaken. We're saying it. Polarization deepens. Long term planning, you can forget it, disappears. That's when power shifts. Not always through crisis, often through neglect. History rarely turns with a single explosion. More often, it turns because people looked away for too long. When will we snap out of this daydream and stop looking away?
Exactly, Femi. It's that slow drift of attention that can quietly reshape the entire landscape. It's not always a big dramatic moment. Often it's the accumulation of times when we just didn't look closely at the quieter shifts. And that's really what we're here to highlight. To help everyone snap out of that daydream, as you said, and really see where the real changes are happening. Because in the end, being aware of those underlying forces is the first step to not being caught off guard by them.
Africa, Nigeria, and the bigger picture? For Africa, and especially for countries like Nigeria, this moment matters deeply because the global system is changing economically, politically, technologically. Late adapters rarely shape the outcomes. They adapt to them, try. The lesson here isn't fear, it's awareness. understanding the difference between noise and signal, spectacle and substance, what feels urgent and what truly matters. In times like this, the most dangerous thing is not instability, it's distraction. Because while we argue over headlines, the future is being written quietly, strategically, and often without public debate. It's happened over and over in history, the internet age. Now, things are moving in the background. Are we paying attention? Distraction. Hmm. The question isn't whether change is coming, it always is. The real question is, are we paying attention to the right things while it happens? Now, subscribe, and I'm going to give the closing frame to my co host, the one and only Madam Fey. Always join us, always be with us, and the mindset, let's change the mindset as it applies to the global frame. Madam Fay, take us out.
Absolutely. And thank you, Femi. It's always a pleasure to dive into these conversations. So, as we wrap up, let's just leave everyone with that thought. The real power lies in where we place our focus. Change is always happening, and the question is whether we're tuned in to the shifts that really matter. So, thanks for being with us, and remember to stay curious, stay aware, and we'll see you next time on Mindset, the Global Frame.